and welcome to this episode of Joe's Hot Takes 25. I'm your host, I'm Joe. Today, I want to explore something we all experience in different ways. Some say love is a feeling. Some say love is how we respond to others. In songs, books, movies, reality TV, we hear and see things that we connect with ourselves. So think about your favorite song, romance song. Think about that song and how it makes you feel and the thoughts that you have. What about your favorite movie, romance movie? You think back, you go, hey, how does this relate to me? So it makes you fun. It makes you smile, right? It makes you smile. It gives you a feeling, and it takes you to a place that you remember. So these songs, these movies, these are great. My questions of today are, so what is love? What does it mean to be in love? Is love being oversold and overstated in TV and movies, songs? I don't know. And what are the physiological effects on our bodies as we experience love? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me get this thing started with love and the arts. So Americans spend a significant amount of time listening to and watching love-related content. So I did a little research. So studies are showing that an average of 4 hours and 11 minutes of audio content per day, that would include music, podcasts, and radio, and that's love related, so romance related, and about 294 minutes per day with TV. So we're watching love shows. We're watching Love Island, Love is Blind, Married at First Sight. We're watching, rom-com type TV shows and movies, it sounds like. So it's fun. It makes us feel good. But it's a significant amount of time. So let's have a little breakdown. Let's talk about the audio consumption. This is what I found in doing research. Nielsen reports that Americans spend approximately 4 hours and 5 minutes on audio per day, accounting for almost 20% of their overall daily time. So, and that's me. I'm podcasting. You're listening to me. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I guess I fit into that, hopefully. This includes time spent on radio, podcasts, music, streaming services, satellite radio, things like that. And a 2023 study found that listeners in the U.S. spend an average of 4 hours and 11 minutes per day consuming audio content. That was in 2023. So we're spending some time on love. That's great. TV viewing. During quarter 4 of 2022, the average U.S. adult spent 294 minutes per day with TV. That was down slightly from 303 minutes during quarter 4 of 2019. I thought that was interesting. That's a lot of time, 294 minutes per day. And again, this isn't just watching TV or watching the news. This is romance-based television. So keep it up. Love is in the air. So that distribution of time, it is shifted a little bit with more time spent on TV-connected devices. So we're going to see some changes as time goes on, I think, with the way we're viewing our content, when we're viewing it, and what we're viewing. So, okay, music listening. 2014, so I'm going back quite a few years. 2014 Nielsen study indicated that 93% of the U.S. population listens to music, spending more than 25 hours each week. Now, that's just music in general. 93% of us spend more than 25 hours each week listening to music. That's awesome. Makes you feel good. 75% of Americans say they actively choose to listen to music, which is more than they claim to actively choose to watch TV. That's about 73%. About 73% say they actively choose to watch TV. Some of us just walk in the room and our significant other's already watching something. We didn't really make the choice. We're going to watch it with them. But 75% of Americans say they actively choose to listen to music. So what about spending? What about money? How does that fit into this? And I'm not talking about Valentine's Day. I'm talking about in general. So how much do we spend on love? Well, love-related spending. Okay, Americans spend. This is the research I've done and what I've found. Americans spend an average of $6,138 per year on their relationships. Now, that's encompassing gifts, activities, dates, and that's according to a DIGG, D-I-G-G, article. But let me break it down a little bit more. Let's dissect that and see what it is. So annual spending, average American, I mentioned $6,138 a year on their relationship. That's a significant amount of money to spend on love in your relationship. First year spending. We've all been there. First year of a relationship can be costly, with Americans spending an average of $9,233. And they said 32 cents, so they got it right down to the pennies. $9,233.32 in the first 12 months of a relationship. That's a lot of money. And I chuckled when I read this to myself. I chuckled and I thought, I didn't spend that much money. And then I thought about it again and I thought, you know what? Sure did. When I met my wife, she had planned a trip to Italy with some friends. And you know how that goes. When you plan trips with friends, they don't always come through. So in this case, friends didn't really come through. I'm kind of the new guy on the scene. I said, hey, I'll go to Italy with you. And bada boom, bada bing, we bought tickets. She had most things already planned out, but we set up some Airbnbs, set up some train rides, some airplane rides while in Europe. Wow, blows my mind when I think back. Yes, I can understand it. So an average of 9,233.32 in the first 12 months. I think I did it. But it was fun. It's love. Why not? So spending does decrease over time. When the honeymoon stage is over, we start spending less money, it sounds like. So the spending decreases over time. Once that first year hump is over, the annual love spending decreases over the next 2 years. Total cost for a 1.5 year relationship. That's 1.5 years. The estimate is it'll cost the average person around $9,200. So a little bit less, $30 less, not much. But that's interesting how, I don't have to impress you anymore as much, so I can spend less. I guess that's the way we think. Everybody that's listening to this, that's in a relationship or has been in a relationship, you understand. Okay, spending on marriage. By the time they marry, the average couple has spent more than $19,000 on gifts and activities together. By the time they marry, the average couple has spent more than $19,000 on gifts and activities. And I thought to myself, I don't buy gifts for my wife, really. Not a lot. I do, but not crazy. And then I thought about it again, and I thought, oh my gosh, yes. We traveled to Italy. And then the next year, we traveled to Spain, went to Andorra, spent some time in Portugal, traveled to Miami, traveled to Puerto Rico several times. So, yeah, yeah, that's a real number. So, average spending on dates. The average American spends over $2,000 a year on dates. $2,000 a year. I can see that. Recently, my wife and I went on a really cool, awesome date. We went axe throwing, a lot of fun. But you get there, it's, I don't know, $50, I think, per person or something to rent the the lane to throw the axe. And then you buy some drinks and you buy a little food and you walk out of there $250. Well, they say an average American spends around $2,000 a year on dates. I can see that. Okay, record spending. I'm going to throw this in there. I'm not a big Valentine's Day guy, folks. I'm telling you, if you love your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, boyfriend, whatever, if you love that person, every day should be a special day for them. Every day they should be reminded that you love them. Every day. So when you throw Valentine's Day in, I call it like everybody else does, the Hallmark holiday. It's just a way to get consumers to spend money. And consumers did spend money. This is what I found. Consumers were expected to spend $27.5 billion. I'm going to back that up. $27.5 billion with a B on Valentine's Day 2025. Wow. Okay, it works. I don't spend any money on Valentine's Day, but some people went out and spent $27.5 billion. Okay, so let's move forward. We got all of that. Let's ask this question. What happens physiologically when you fall in love? So now I'm going to read through some information that I gathered up. And if I misstate something, it's only because I really don't understand some of these words. But I'm going to try. So dopamine stimulates the reward pathways and increases motivation and obsessive thoughts and behaviors to pursue the love interest. It increases motivation and obsessive thoughts and behaviors to pursue the love interest. Let's go back up to what we were talking about a minute ago about spending the money. There it is. Okay, so we want to impress this person. We spend the money and we do things that we probably normally wouldn't do. How many of you in your first few dates open the car door for your significant other? Okay, I still do it. I still open the door for my wife. I just think that's, the right thing to do. It's respect. Anyway, okay, here we go. Noradrenaline. Noradrenaline causes the feelings of euphoria and the physiological responses of a faster heart rate, butterflies in the tummy, and increased energy, right? When we're in love, you get that heart rate up, the butterflies are in your tummy, you can't wait to see this person, you have increased energy, you can't wait, right? After you're married for a few years, 8 o'clock, you're like, is our show almost over? I want to brush my teeth, I want to be ready for bed soon. All right, here we go. So what I'm hearing when I read all of this, or what I'm learning, is that we get excitement and euphoria. So some say it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Have you ever heard that? So if you have ever been heartbroken, you know the opposite then of this euphoria. You know the opposite of the butterflies in the tummy. They're not really butterflies anymore in your tummy. Now they're just worms crawling around. And that increased energy goes out the door. You are eating bonbons, watching rom-coms, right? So, some say it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. I don't know. That's a question. Is that true or not true? But like I said, if you've been heartbroken, you felt the opposite effects of falling in love, being in love. But with time, all wounds heal, and new love can certainly be found. That's a fact. All right. So I just said new love can be found. That's interesting. How do we do that today? How do we find love? I mean, go to the grocery store and you hope you bump into somebody in the fruit and veggie section. Maybe you break out a little conversation with them. I don't know. You go to the nightclubs. Are those even a thing anymore? I don't know. I'm getting older, so I don't really do the nightclub thing. You go to a bar? I don't know. Well, here's what I do know. I did a little research, and I found that an August 2024 report indicates that millions of people in the United States are looking for a match on dating apps. In 2023, over 17% of the population of the United States were using online dating services. That translates to almost 60 million users. We were talking about money. There's some money right there. 60 million users, and they're getting on these dating apps. So, of those, here's a question. How many lovers stay in love? How many lovers stay in love? Well, obviously it's pretty difficult to pinpoint and get a real exact number, but I think it's fair to say that around 10% of partnered adults in the US report meeting their current partner on a dating site or an app. So 10%, okay. I mean, that's not terrible odds. Remember, online, we don't know what we're really getting until we meet in person. So there's a lot of catfishing going on out there, and this would be a really good time for me to give you a public service announcement. Watch out for these love scams. There's a lot of information out there on love scams. People get on these dating apps and they start saying things, they send photos, they're telling you things, and then we start feeling the excitement, the euphoria, the butterflies in our tummy, the heart rate goes up, we're excited, we're looking forward to this. Suddenly, a lot of common sense goes right out the window, and we fall into this I'm in love category, and then we start doing things and spending money in ways that we should not. So just if you feel like something doesn't quite feel right, it probably isn't right, and do your research. I always advocate do your research. All my podcasts, do your research. Okay, so let's break down that little 10% number that I had as I digressed. Prevalence of online dating. Over 17% of the population used online dating in 2023, about 60 million users. That's big. A Pew Research Center study found that 1 in 10, so that's your 10%, partnered adults met their current partner on a dating site or an app. So that's where that came from that Pew Research Center study. Now, exclusive relationships. A significant number of people who met on dating apps report that it led to an exclusive romantic relationship. All right. That's awesome. So keep it up, guys. Keep up the dating apps. Keep it up. Fall in love. Feel good. All right. So we'll move out of the dating apps and let's talk about why do we, and I mentioned earlier about watching television, listening to music, things like that. Why do we watch so many reality TV shows? And it's really difficult, again, to really pinpoint an exact number. But in the research that I've done, this is what I found, that about 79% of adult TV watchers in the United States watch reality TV shows. Now, romance reality shows like I mentioned earlier, Love Island, Married at First Sight, Temptation Island, things like that. Love is Blind, that's a big one. make up about 39% of all reality TV programs. So that's pretty significant because now you started a whole new reality series that's not Survivor based, Amazing Race based, the challenge based. This is love based, love, sex, scandal, all of that. So again, nearly 80% of the TV viewers watch reality TV. Romance genre popularity. Romance-based TV reality shows account for, again, 39% of all TV programs. And we talked about those popular shows, right? And if you say, or if you're listening to this podcast and you think, I don't watch that stuff. I don't watch that. I'm a guy, I don't watch that. Yes, you do. We all do. You may not. Remember, we talked about very early in this podcast about how many hours or minutes of television is voluntarily watched. Sometimes we involuntarily watch romance shows because it's the right thing to do to keep your partner happy. But I think we enjoy them as much. I do. I enjoy watching them. They're fun. So that brings up that question then. So why do people watch? Why are we watching these reality TV shows? What's the draw? And so I think as I read up on this and did a little bit of research, I think that the draw is that we identify with a lot of these people. We can really identify, and we're interested in, and we empathize with the participants. If you've watched shows like Love is Blind, here they are. They're in these pods. They're communicating. They're rapid dating, and we see it on TV. We see just a glimpse of what really happens, but in reality, these folks stay in these pods and they date and date and date, and it's kind of a constant 24/7 availability for however many weeks that they do that. You really can learn a lot about somebody. As long as you're open and you're communicating, you can really learn a lot. And so for those of us that did generic dating, romance, fall in love, get married, sometimes those take years. That takes years to get to that place. And so these folks are doing this in a very short amount of time. If you take on that show, Married at First Sight, they don't even get a chance. They set it up. They say, this is what I'm looking for. This is the type of person I am. And these professionals or experts, if you will, match folks together. They get married, and then they go off on a honeymoon, and then they come back and try to live together and try to work through it. And I think that their success rate is probably very, very low, very, very low. But it's interesting. We watch it, and as these experts talk to the participants and talk about communication and how we act and how we communicate verbally, how we communicate physically, our emotional feelings, and putting walls down so that we can communicate. They talk about that, and we as the viewers listen to that. We hear that, and we go, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to communicate better with my spouse. And how do I do that? And these experts give us little ideas. I didn't have to pay for it. So that's another plus to falling in love. Okay. So, I think that we all seem to experience hopeless romance. It all starts with that first, school crush, that first boyfriend or girlfriend, and then we grow and we mature and things change, and then it seems like we reach a new level of feelings for that special someone. But even in the beginning, think back to your first crush, right? All of the things apply. Your heart rate was up. You had butterflies in your tummy. Um, you felt that euphoria. You were thinking about this person constantly. You couldn't wait to see this person again. I can't wait to get back to school tomorrow so I can see this person, right? Remember those days? Well, now you're elevating that to an adult level and it's just bigger, deeper, and just more special. So uh, maybe that's when we fall in love. Maybe that's when it happens, when we develop those feelings. And I don't know, everybody's different. Everybody will tell you a little bit different story about what they believe love is and what they believe falling in love means and feels like or is. So, in any event, it seems that we do, in fact, feel love and experience physiological effects on our bodies. It's real. So there is really something about that. That's what I've gathered from all of this information. So we dream about and we remember our love or loves that we have had through songs, through stories, movies, things that remind us of our past. And when in need of that connection, some reach out to dating sites or snuggle up to some reality TV shows to try to either rekindle or feel again or find new. So it's really interesting. It's fun. But this is my research on love. This is um, my questions, provoking thoughts. That's what I want to do here. Provoke your thoughts. Have you think about it. I wanted to lighten it up and have a little fun, not be looking at all these dastardly current deeds that are current events that are going on out in the world, and focus on something a little more fun just for this episode for sure. So with that, I'm going to bring this episode to a close. So I hope that you have all had the opportunity to love. I hope that you've all had the opportunity to be loved and to share love. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope it brings happiness to your day. And until next time, please be kind to each other. Love with intent. And always, always, guys, always stay curious. All right? We'll see you next time. Bye.